Welcome back to this week's Ask Alex, where you guys submit your questions for calling in sick, and I answer them either with a guest or by my lonesome. And this week, it's by my lonesome, but we're talking all things mental health. Because if you haven't caught this Monday's episode, I got to sit down with the Gary Goldman, and we chatted about depression, anxiety, being institutionalized, how we navigated with these things on our own, and how we've used creativity to help us transform and transmute all of that energy into something a little bit more palatable. Because hell, who likes sitting in the blue days and the shitstorms forever? Nobody. So, let's get into your questions. This question comes from Gabby. I have AS and fibromyalgia. The last few years my health has been really bad, even at its worst. When I would feel at my lowest, the thing that made me keep fighting was having my husband. He left me out of nowhere, and it's hard to find reasons to keep fighting. I apologize for this long-winded depression question, but I guess what advice can you give someone who's really struggling to keep on trucking? P.S. Thank you for your platform helping people. Well, first and foremost, Gabby, I'm sorry. That's really, really shitty, and I'm sorry that you're having to deal with heartbreak on top of physical and mental isms that come with chronic illness. What I can tell you from an outsider's perspective, if he is leaving and going on his way, and leaving you to battle these things on your own, he was not somebody that was going to be worthy of seeing you on the other side of it. So however much this heartbreak hurts and feels like the biggest weight in the world, and it is right now, a day from now, a week from now, a month from now, a year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you are going to be so proud of yourself because it wasn't someone else that got you through this season. It was you. And so if you need a little hope to keep on going right now, let your why be you, because you are worthy in and of yourself to get from point A to point B. And when you get to that point B where you're feeling a little bit more like yourself, you are the one that did it. You are the one that people are going to be looking at in awe and celebrating. And that is something that's pretty incredible. So I'm giving you a virtual hug right now. It's okay to cry and let all of those tears fall out of your face, but know you're going to get through this because you are one strong baddie. Our next question comes from Stacey. What are ways in which someone with major depressive disorder can cope with being chronically ill? Girl, if I had a silver bullet, none of us would be dealing with MDD and chronic illness, because what in the fucking world? Why do we have to have all the things? I just don't know. But my biggest tip is that any mental health adds a cloud and a color corrective lens to how we're viewing the world. And when we're dealing with chronic illness, the world feels heavy. It can feel isolating. It can feel inaccessible. It can feel like we no longer have our identity or purpose or place here. And that only gets exacerbated by our mental health isms. One thing that's really helped me though is when I hear my brain start to go off into those cycles of the darker lens, the blue days, I audibly correct myself and say, hey brain, that's not correct. I am worthy to be here. I am not a burden to people. I bring more to the table than what I am able to do or produce in this world. And I think audibly saying those things and correcting yourself in the moment helps take you from that really terrible space to one step ahead. And if you keep doing that, it builds and has momentum. And Gary and I actually talked about that in this week's Monday episode, where we dove into how that first step out of bed, just putting your foot on the ground, can sometimes be the hardest thing to do. But once you get that done, then you take another step, and then you get to your front door, and then you get to the coffee shop, and you get to see somebody that you love and haven't gotten to chat with in a long time. And all of a sudden, you've accomplished this thing that you didn't think you were going to be able to accomplish. So call yourself out on your brain's BS, because those mental health isms really like to take the driver's seat, and they are not allowed to all the time. And even though they might take that driver's seat, as long as we keep telling the bus to slow down or to stop and let me off, one day at a time, we'll get into a little bit better of a place. The second thing is that I think every single person with a chronic illness deserves to find a therapist that they gel with, because it is fucking hard to navigate all of the different feelings and emotions that come with being chronically ill. And however much we can love our family and our friends that are a real support circle, if they haven't lived this stuff, there are then so many aspects that they aren't going to be able to 100% show up for us in the way that we need them to in those moments. And that's why there's professionals that we can pay to help us. So if you haven't found one already, give yourself the gift of going to talk therapy. Feel free to date around, because if you do not have the right therapist, it is harder to get to the growth that you deserve to have. Our next question comes from Bailey. When we get screened for depression, are we in the same category as everyone else? I know my flares cause more episodes, but never felt comfy talking to my PCP about it, but always wondered their perspective as docs to chronic illness patients. Well, alas, I'm not a provider, so I'm not actually sure. But I would think that we do fall in a different category, because although some of us have had depression or anxiety prior to chronic illness hitting, others have had event-triggered anxiety or depression. And in those circumstances, I think it becomes the utmost importance to then find a provider that is really well trained in chronic illness talk therapy. And there's so many different buckets and directions you can go in that direction. So while the answer is unclear because I'm not a provider, my assumed answer is yes with an asterisk. And my second little asterisk is, although it can be scary to ask our provider some questions, you will be so much better off asking any of those questions to your provider. As long as you trust that they have your best interests at heart, no harm, no foul. And I can promise you too, the fear that we've built up in our heads about those kinds of conversations, way scarier than what it's actually like when it plays out in real life. So rip off that Band-Aid and do it scared. Ashley from Alaska asks, what nutritional hacks for depression do you have? Any eat this and feel better suggestions for us autoimmuners? It's a great question, and although I'm not a provider, so this is not medical advice, what I do know is that sugar feeds bacteria that does not help with the mental health side of the equation. So that, and honestly, that's the reason why I try to have a relatively low to no sugar diet. As I've shared with you guys before, I struggle deeply with depression and anxiety. It has been a constant and ongoing and evolving battle since I was a little kid that got exacerbated when I got diagnosed with PAN in 2019. I noticed that if I am letting myself be free and eat all of the delicious sugary things, I feel really good in the moment, and I feel terrible later on, physically and mentally, and then the mental gets even worse because then the physical pain gets worse, and it's this tornado effect. I think that tornado effect is also replicated in different food triggers, but that looks different for each of us. Nightshades, I'm totally fine with, but that is a big inflammation trigger for others, whereas gluten and dairy, I've noticed, have a similar, unfortunately, trigger as those. It's also the reason why I don't really drink. Drinking gives me incredible anxiety, not even the next morning, but later that night. I can have half a glass of wine. Any more than that, and I am bubbling in anxiety, and the next day, most likely having a blues depression day. And that got to such a bad place that I decided to cut it out of my life. And when I did that, I noticed I didn't miss it, because the feelings I was getting with drinking were these really short-lasted, happy, joyful, bubbly moments, and then a really long tail of terrible moments. So personally, that just wasn't worth it. So I guess what I'm saying is be intuitive and intentional when you're eating, and take little notes of how different things make you feel. If it makes you feel heavier and tired and sluggish, then is there a trickle-down effect to having a blues period or an anxiety moment? Start questioning yourself, not just how you physically feel when you eat things, but how you mentally feel when you eat things. And I think you will find what diet works best for you and your body and your mind. Ashley in Alaska also asks, I'm currently rehabbing a broken fibula that required surgery. Oh, I'm sorry, that sounds terrible. Any mental health suggestions that I might not have already heard? Okay, so when you are rehabbing from a surgery and you are stuck inside and not as mobile, I totally relate to that depression building on itself. Movement, sunlight, all of those things do a number in a really good way for our mental health. So if you're not doing physical therapy, explore it for sure. Or try some gentle movements in bed. There are some incredible chronic illness creators that do in bed or on the couch movement tutorials to show you how you can still get some movement in even on these hard and rough days. The second tip for you, comedy, baby. I talk about it in the podcast with Gary, but whenever I am having really, really bad symptoms where I am having duvet day after duvet day after duvet day, or if I'm recovering from surgery, or if I'm going through a chemotherapy cycle, there's a rule in this household, and it is lighthearted funnies only. It can be stand-up, it can be sketch comedy, it can be a funny sitcom, it can be an adult cartoon. I don't care. You name it. If it's funny, I'm going to be watching it, and we do not watch anything heavy. That in and of itself is the reason why we have not watched some of the most popular TV shows that have graced the earth in the last 5 or 6 years. However, I will say, watching all those things, it did help me. Laughter is good medicine. It releases those happy chemicals in your brain that don't just help with mental health, but also help with managing pain. So if you need that list and you're a Substack subscriber, we have a duvet day guide that lists a plethora of TV shows, movies that are all duvet day approved. And if you want to subscribe to the Substack to get that list, there's a link in the description below. Our next question comes from Haley, who asks, what is your biggest mental health tip for high pain days when even gentle movement feels impossible? Don't push the movement on those days. On my highest pain days, the only movement I'm doing is stretching gently in bed. I'm stretching gently in bed because I get more pain, or my pain gets exacerbated, if I do zero movement and am horizontal the entire day. If that is also you, I would highly, highly encourage doing some gentle movement, gentle stretching. Like I said earlier, wonderful chronic illness creators that do amazing tutorials. I also think on really high pain days, it's important to get out of your own head and your own lived little bubble. That's the day that I will call my family, my friends, anybody I feel safe being in pain around, where I can also be like, I gotta hop off the phone. I'm feeling like asshat. And they don't bat an eye. Those are the people I'm FaceTiming. I think pouring our hearts into somebody else on days where we're feeling low rebuilds something in us and is really distracting. Because if I can't solve my own problems, bestie, you call me and let me try to help solve your problems so I feel an inch and a smidge better. And if none of that sounds good, duvet day it up, honey. You deserve it. Put on Bravo. Eat some popcorn. Have the chocolate that day. It's counterintuitive, but give yourself one day where you can just indulge in relaxing and taking care of yourself. And yeah, that sugary food is not going to help you feel any better and probably is going to exacerbate it. But sometimes your heart needs to be filled, even if it costs a little bit on your body. Our next question comes from Ash. How do you not feel like you're being too much on other people? Newly MCAS and HEDS. Traveling is a nightmare. My boyfriend is being supportive, but it's hard, and college is rough as is. That is a feeling that is shared between so many of us. If you have a chronic illness, my bet is that at some point in time, you have also felt like a burden to other people. And I'm going to be honest, there are certain seasons where we are going to be a lot for other people to take care of and to manage and to comfort and to kind of baby at times. But that doesn't mean the season's going to last forever. And during those seasons, even if we're in pain and having high symptoms, that does not give us permission to be an asshole to other people. So I guess what I'm saying is, when you are stuck in that feeling of being too much, tell that voice in your head to shut the fuck up out loud. Like I said earlier, correct it in the moment. Share with your partner that you're feeling this way. More often than not, they're going to pour into you and say, it's okay, you're not doing well. Let me take care of you. Let me love you. And then remind yourself that maybe you can do a little something to say thank you. And it doesn't have to be big. You don't have to lose spoons over it. But when St. Coop has been taking care of me and I've been holed up in our bed all week with a big flare-up, he's picking the movies that night. He's getting to choose what we're ordering in because he's been bending over backward to take care of me. Small little things to say thank you, and also just actually saying thank you, go a really, really long way. And our last question comes from Anon. How do you deal with GAD, generalized anxiety disorder, and MDD, major depressive disorder, without medication? It's a great question, and it is something that I am trialing out as we speak. So I was not on medication up until I was 21 years old, and it was when I had been kidnapped, and I went on some pretty heavy-hitting anxiety meds because I was having screaming night terrors. And then honestly, I felt for the first time in my entire life normal being on anxiety meds. I wasn't in my head thinking, are people mad at me? Am I doing something wrong? Did I say something weird? Incessantly. And so I stayed on it, and I've actually been consistently on anxiety medication since then. So it's been 10 years. Depression medication I've gone on and off of over the last 7 years. And I will say, there are times and places where you just should stay on them and not rock the boat. There's also time and place where if you're interested in coming off the medications, give it a whirl. If you are not on any medications and you're struggling, don't be scared to take the medications, because those aren't band-aids. What they are doing is they are altering the chemistry in your brain that is completely off on its own to get it to a right place. And during that time period, you do the work. You do the talk therapy, you do the journaling, you do the exercise. You build those habits that help build strong mental health. So at some point, if you would like, you can graduate off the medication, graduate from therapy, which I learned just the other week from Preston that that's apparently something people do. Medicine is not a bad thing. If we need to take it for our physical body, why would we not take it for our mental body too? But if medicine is off the table and you're trying to manage those things solo dolo, talk therapy, movement, eating foods that don't irritate and inflame all of that bad shit in our body. Inflammation leads to gut dysbiosis, which has a mental health impact. And lastly, do something that is outside of taking care of yourself. When I first got sick and I was so depressed, I had just gotten Noxie Girl, my little pup, my little service dog. And needing to take care of something that was not just me made me have the appreciation that I'm not the center of the universe. Even though I'm in a hellhole of symptoms and thinking that I was literally going to perish in 4 months, I knew that there was something that was depending on me that couldn't communicate their needs to me. So I had to step out of my own world and be there for her. But I think that that still holds true, even if it's not a furry friend or a living animal or human being. I think even plants can do that for us. Get enough plants in your house where you have to water them, look at their soil, maybe repot them here and there. It's just that motion of having to take care of something that cannot take care of itself that has this really beneficial impact to our own psyche. And honestly, I think people get that same feeling and sensation and self-pride almost and motivation in volunteering, giving back to the community, picking up trash on a walk. Anything where you are taking care of something else helps feed your soul. So I guess those are my top 5 tips. If you are not doing the medication for mental health, outside time, sleep habits, movement, healthy diet, lifestyle, taking care of somebody else. Maybe some mindfulness too. Gratitude practice has been immensely helpful to me, which I know is probably annoying to some people that have heard that but don't want to try it yet, or have tried it and did not find it to be helpful. And I guess also mindfulness, which doesn't have to be meditation or breath work. It can be writing down 3 or 5 things you're grateful for every single morning. Both Gary and I do that. Immensely helpful. Also, on that note, go to Gary's Instagram. He has 100 posts about 100 things to do to help with depression and mental health that are not medication related. All of these things, though, if they're not medication related, take effort and energy, which sometimes can be difficult when you're chronically sick. So just know, if you can't do it to the 100% perfect degree that day, it doesn't mean you shouldn't do it at all. Find a way to make it work for you in your body, in your routine for that day, if you will. If you guys ever have any questions or need a little love, feel free to drop in our DMs. Mental health and physical health is never something that we are supposed to take on our own. I launched this podcast because I didn't want people to feel alone in their journey. I wanted people to feel seen. I wanted people to find words to describe what they were experiencing through this podcast and platform. I want y'all to know I love you guys so fucking much. If you are ever struggling and are at a point where you really need help, there is a group chat where you can drop in all of our DMs. And we are here to take care of each other, because that's what this platform is. This platform is about pouring love into each other. Because if we're getting something out of it, we're adding something back into it. Because that's just this chronic illness baddie community that we've created here at Calling in Sick. And for those that are having good moments, make sure you pour back into other people's cups, because we are here to support all of each other during different seasons and different chapters. And when we're in a rough one or we're in a good one, we all have the awareness to know that healing is not linear, and sometimes those things flip around. So No matter if you're up high or down low today, just know you are loved, you are supported, and you have a whole group and community in the Calling in Sick family. I love you guys, and happy hump day. And that's a wrap. Thank you so much for joining me for another week of Calling in Sick. As a reminder, I would love for y'all to like, follow, subscribe, save, share with a friend, do all of the things. It truly helps grow this community, and it helps these episodes reach the people that need them the most, whether that's for an educational piece, to have a little laugh, or to not feel so alone. As a reminder, Calling in Sick sits on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify, and anywhere else where you can find your listens. From the bottom of my heart, I absolutely love you guys. Thank you so much for calling in sick with me every Monday. It's been an honor and a pleasure so far, and I can't wait to continue building this community with y'all. Love you.